Okay, Vikings, Seahawks this Sunday, home opener, first real game at the Purple Palace with actual fans in damn near 2 years. Still licking the wounds at 0-2. You know, I've gotten into that defiant mode myself of like, you know, sucks that we're 0-2, but I'm not giving up. You know, I won't give up. As bad as I fucking felt last Sunday night, I won't give up. And this is just the week that was here with the Vikings. It's been another round of just insufferable fans, and the tank Nazis are out there. The worst stuff of this week was definitely the anti Zimmer stuff. Like if there was any doubt whatsoever anymore that this fan base by and large has turned on Mike Zimmer, that's out the fucking window because at this point it just seems like they all hate him. Um, there was this, one of the little stories of the week was this interview Kyle Rudolph did with some media personality, and he said something about, I don't even think he mentioned Zimmer by name, but he just mentioned that he's got a head coach who's not. He said something like he's not just a defensive coordinator, and people picked up on that and were like, oh, he's ripping on Mike Zimmer. He secretly hates Mike Zimmer. Rudolph Edom had to go out and like tweet a big like Twitter thread response to the controversy. It's like he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything negative about Zimmer, but that's kind of where we're at now. I think you know even the really hardcore Kirk haters, even they have kind of shut up for most of this week. I mean, there was some. Obviously, there's some like, oh, he's 0-2, QB wins. Um, there's some of that out there, but even for the most part this week, the Kirk haters for the most part had to kind of just shut up and just you know stay silent for the week. Now, of course, they're all rooting for Kirk to go out on Sunday and flop and be the reason that we lose again. I mean, they're all praying for that, especially those fucking Score North dipshits. Um, but they had to basically shut up about Kirk. But yeah, the Zimmers get catching the brunt. Like people want him gone. I mean, first, I mean, for one thing, you're not gonna fire a guy 2 weeks into the season anyway. They could drop to 0-4. They could lose both these next couple home games to tough teams. Be 0-4. They're still not gonna fire him then. Um, and I don't think that's gonna happen anyway. But you know, this fan base is clearly just out on Zimmer, and I think that's permanent because it's kind of just like you know nothing short of a Super Bowl title is going to get any of them to like Zimmer again. I'm not exactly a fan of the revisionist history that that he's never been a good head coach. It's like fuck off. If you believe that Mike Zimmer, like I've seen people referring to Mike Zimmer's career here as a failure, go fuck yourselves. If you actually believe that, you don't know the first fucking thing about football or coaching or anything. Like this could be the end. I mean, if they miss the playoffs again this year, this will probably be the end for Zimmer. I mean, that's just how the NFL works. If you miss the playoffs multiple years in a row, unless you got some like championship winning equity built up, you're probably gone. And even that doesn't necessarily matter. They fucking fired Doug Peterson in Philadelphia, and he won a Super Bowl. So, but I wish this fan base is just awful towards people. They're just awful. They're awful towards Cousins. They're awful towards Zimmer. Oh God, it just never fucking ends. And they're out on Zimmer, and they'll say it's because his defense is giving up points and stuff. It's like, well, wonder what the Venn diagram is of these same people who hate any NFL game that isn't like 40-30, but then they complain about the team gives up a lot of points. It's like, what do you want? Zimmer be the first guy to tell you that you know, that his defense needs to be better. I mean, they're better than they were last year. I mean, that if, anyone who thinks they haven't improved from last year, they ain't watching. Like they've got what 8 sacks. Hunter's back. He's a beast. They made plays in the second half last week. They made a lot of plays to give him a chance. And had the fucking kick gone through, one of the big stories would have been, wow, look at that, how that defense, really did a pretty good job of containing, freaking Houdini, and gave him these opportunities, and they finally, got the win. And now of course you got another really fucking tough game this week against Russell Wilson, who we've never beaten. And even if Seattle isn't quite what they've been in years past, I mean, you still got to watch out for the guy. Like he can still light you up, and he might light us up. Like this is. I would expect this game Sunday to be another similar score to last week. It's probably going to be in the 30s on both sides, and you're probably going to have to score a lot of points to win. That's just kind of how it is. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing this defense when they're not facing you know a star quarterback. And I know people say, "Oh, Joe, they gave up a bunch of points to the Bengals." I mean, most of that game they weren't giving up a lot of points to the Bengals, but you know, it's a work in progress. I think I was probably even more naively optimistic than some about. You're literally just going to hit the ground running, and this is going to be a top 10 defense. Probably not. That was probably a naive belief. But I still think this defense can be pretty damn good. And I don't know where I don't know where they're going to end up ranked. That's not even about it. It's just, you know, you faced, you faced an MVP candidate last week. You're going to face another, top 5-ish quarterback this week. Really good receivers, and we've struggled, Breland especially with in the secondary, but maybe Dancer will get in there a little more. I think people forget about it because they don't care about context. They just want to look at the record and say, "Oh, you're a failure." But look at what Zimmer turned. Early last year, what the defense was looking like, and Zimmer turned him into something pretty damn good there in the middle of the season for a while, until the Kendricks injury happened, and the other injuries just didn't stop happening. I expect something similar. I expect it was like I said, it was probably naive to think this defense was going to be lighting it up in September, but I think by even by the bye week, I think they're going to be looking a lot better, and this offense is already performing pretty well. So I mean, I don't expect them to shut Seattle down by any means this weekend, and they probably won't shut Cleveland down. Maybe once they get to the Detroit game and the Carolina game, maybe by then their defense will be a little more clicking in there, and they won't be facing stars all over the field. And you have to beat stars too. Like it's not like you don't get the excuse of if you're playing good players, then you're excused if you struggle. But I wish people would kind of put some of this stuff into context, but context eludes these people. So here we are. Barr's not going to play again. It was sounding like maybe, like even he was saying that maybe he was getting close. I mean, like I've been a defender of Anthony Barr over the years, but Jesus, man, you got to get out there. I mean, just for his career. I mean, if is he gonna fucking get out there and perform this year? Because he's gonna be hitting free agency. I'm not sure if it's the thing where they would have to cut him, or if he's just literally hitting free agency on his own. But like, if he wants to have a career beyond this year, he's got to get his ass out there. And I'm not saying he ain't hurt, but you got to get out there. I think everybody else is good to go. Or Harrison Hand got COVID, I guess, or he was put on the list. I'm not 100% sure if he actually got COVID. I guess he's unvaxxed. So, but So he's out, but that'll for sure mean Dancer will get out there a fair amount. We pretty much need all hands on deck in the secondary because that's really where we struggle because we're getting pressure, we're getting sacks. Obviously pressure doesn't mean as much when you're facing a guy like Murray or now when you're facing a guy like Wilson who can just get out there and just make fucking miracles. But so I don't expect the defense to look a whole lot different this week, but I think we learned last week we can score with some of those top offenses, and I expect them to do it again. Big, question mark is Dalvin Cook. He's officially listed as questionable for the injury report. Typically, that that could go either way, but he had practice for like 3 days. Typically, means he ain't playing. Might be a little different with a running back. And Zimmer I think he flat out said, like maybe not in these exact words, but that Dalvin is going to play against Seattle. And, Seattle just got lit up by Derrick Henry. And boy, if we can get Dalvin out there, that's going to make a big difference. Because no offense to Madison and Abdullah, but you ain't Dalvin Cook. And we've seen sometimes in the past few years, if Cook isn't out there, this offense can really get shut down, or at least is very limited. And fuck, the Seattle game last year, Cook goes out like I think beginning of the third quarter, basically in that game, and the key point in the whole game is the fucking fourth down call with Madison, and Madison, runs right into the fucking line. Dalvin Cook wouldn't have done that, we would have won that game, and they would have made the playoffs if they had won that game. So, it'd be really nice to just finally beat Seattle in this Russell Wilson era. We haven't beaten Seattle once, and it goes back pre-Zimmer because we played them once or twice with Frazier. We haven't beaten them since Brett Favre. Brett Favre was the last Vikings quarterback to beat the Seahawks. It's time. We got this home opener. We got the home field advantage against Seattle for the first time since the playoff game. I hope the fucking crowd's willing to actually root for the team and not just root for failure so they can boo and hiss, call for Zimmer to be fired and Cousins to be benched and all the players to be released and all this shit. It's exhausting. I don't get it. I'll never understand this mentality of fans like rooting against your team. And like I just don't get it. I don't get the mentality of rooting against your team. Because it's already some of the tank Nazis are out there hoping that we end up with the number 1 draft pick. Which we won't. Have you seen some of these fucking teams out there? This is the same thing as last year. Even if the Vikings end up having a bad year, they ain't gonna end up with the number 1 pick. They're not gonna be the worst team in the league. Have you seen the fucking Jets? Have you seen what the Texans are looking like? Have you seen the Jaguars? These are awful teams. It's week 3. Can we just stop? Can you not be these people who root against the team that you claim to be a fan of? 3 weeks into the season or 2 weeks into the season, like it sucks. It sucks being 0-2, and that was another thing. Zimmer got ripped because he said, I forget what day in the press conference, like, we're a couple plays from being 2-0. It's just something you say, like, but he got ripped for it. Like, ooh, there was a whole fucking article in the goddamn fish wrap ripping the guy for saying this. It's like, it's just something you say. And are they 2 plays? You take away the Dalvin fumble and the Joseph miss, yeah, they probably are 2-0. There's certainly an element of truth into it. But it's him saying, hey, it's him trying to just pump up his team and be like, hey, we're 0-2, but we're not bad. And I agree. I don't think they're bad. I don't think this is a bad football team at all. Never get any fucking luck, that's for sure. But this isn't a bad team. don't get anything for being the best 0-2 team, but it doesn't help you really. But like there's a lot of other teams out there that are 0-2 and they have no hope because you know they're bad. You know that the Jaguars are bad. You know that the Jets are awful. You know that the Falcons are terrible. Like these are teams you know have no chance, and I don't see that at all with the Vikings. And it's hard to be optimistic after seeing that shit last week, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility this team can go on a run of wins. I just don't. I could see them 4-2 with the bye. I don't see Seattle and Cleveland as these just impassable mountains. Like you can beat these teams, especially at home. I think we're gonna see home field advantage really matter and see how much it really matters for this team. And it's not just the noise in the crowd. You gotta play well, but hopefully offensive line had a much better week too. Hopefully that continues. Defense, they're giving up points, they're giving us some big plays, but they're also making some big plays too. And hopefully they can get to a point where they're still making big impact plays and they're not giving up the impact plays. And obviously we got a kicking situation, but we always do. I'm glad they didn't do a knee-jerk thing and cut Joseph, because it ain't his fucking fault. I mean, it really isn't. It's like forces beyond our understanding that caused him to miss that kick. He'll miss more kicks. Hopefully he doesn't miss any that matter, but he probably will. But he might also make some good ones, and I hope that nothing would be more feel-good story than for him to hit the game winner this Sunday. But hopefully it doesn't fucking come down to that, because I don't want to deal with it. But I mean, I think this team has a shot not just to win Sunday, but to then go on a run. And maybe they won't. And maybe this is just going to be like last year, and they're going to really dig a hole early and improve a little, but not be able to dig out of it. And if that's the case, then there's going to be a lot of changes with this team. But we're not there yet. And I wish these fans who are rooting for failure and rooting for losses, just so it can reinforce their feeling of superiority or something, just root for the fucking team. Like until all hope is lost, you gotta stick it out. You gotta root for them. You gotta hope for the best. And Zimmer has been a really good fucking coach here, man. Cousins has been a really good quarterback for us. And I hate that these people who are trying to revise these things into do the revisionist history thing where these facts are not true. I really don't like these people at all. And this year could be the end of an era, but it's not the end of an era yet. And I think this team has a real shot to go run off some wins. Fucking Green Bay's got to go play the 49ers. They're probably they got a good chance of losing that game. Bears are going to play in Cleveland. They might lose that game. Might be back tied for first place at 1-2 if we can win on Sunday. I forget who the Lions are playing. Oh, the Lions are playing Baltimore. They're not going to win that one. So yeah, fuck. This is the division is there. The conference. If you want to talk, just getting into the playoffs. You gotta win games like Seattle, because if you don't win the division, you're going to be fighting with teams like that to get in the playoffs. So. Officially, I am picking the Vikings to win this game. I didn't pick them last week. I picked it to be close. I think I had a 34-30 last week. And I was pretty fucking close on that. I'm picking it very similar this week. I'm going like 34-31 Vikings. I think we are going to get it done. And I just, I hope I'm right. And I hope we can roll off some wins after this, because I don't care what the record says. I still think this is a pretty good team.